Your experiences, although they are your experiences, they're not just your experiences. People can literally share in those experiences and relate to those experiences. And I think that's truly where the conversation starts. It's one thing to read books and educate yourself. And it's important to read books and educate yourself or to look at our history, not but look at our history, but what adds to the understanding of everything we've been through is the experiences. So whatever experiences we've gone through in whatever capacity you want to weigh it, it's still an experience that sparks a question in your head. Was that right? Is that fair? Is this okay? Is anybody else going through this? Why is this happening? How long is this going to happen? That's what I want listeners to understand about this. If they do decide to fellowship with us through listening, I just want the experiences to be understood that although they're my experiences, I do understand that people, like, whether it's like a direct experience that reminded them of what I went through or just something that was remotely close or something that kind of reminds them of something they've went through, but not exactly the same. I just want them to understand basically nothing makes your experiences more, we mean more to anybody else because it's still an experience that we shouldn't be having due to whatever discrimination that is going on. The equity or the fight for equity is a never ending one. Why I commend you and my partner.
This is Social Justice Origin Stories. I'm your host, Rolando Tompkins Jones. Social Justice Origin Stories is a storytelling project that highlights personal stories and defining moments that have inspired individuals and organizations to labor for equity and social justice. Through truth-telling, the honest sharing of their experiences, storytellers teach us about themselves, enabling us to learn about ourselves and our world through their stories. By reconnecting with pivotal moments of activation in their lives, they invite us to do the same. At Social Justice Origin Stories, we believe that there's power in storytelling and lived experience is experience. There's room enough for all of us to do this work. There are many ways to contribute, and our contributions don't need to be the same. We can enter and remain engaged in the work using the gifts that are special to us while supporting others and using theirs. We have the capacity to grow and change for the better when exposed to new information and experiences. We believe in our inherent worth and capabilities, and we possess the power to inspire and create change within ourselves and others. We can transcend the confines of the status quo to imagine and design more equitable and humanizing systems. Today on Social Justice Origin Stories, we're speaking with Barre Jones. So thank you so much, Barre, for joining today.
I definitely appreciate the opportunity. My perspective is just having people realize that it's more so like an ecosystem than a hierarchy. I think more than ever, like the people that led us in this direction or you into this work, I think those people did it for people like us that are going to affect things. You know what I'm saying? A lot of small movements in the right direction can have a grand effect. And I think that is important to remember, like you said, it's not a scale to compare each of our experiences to. It's more of an additive or an addition to. It's not no, I went through this, so you wouldn't understand this. It's more so like this was my perspective on my experiences with social injustice, and we have the common theme of just experiencing injustice or some type of oppression or some type of experience that our best interest or equity wasn't a part of that. And I think stuff like this, and this is literally why I did this, because granted, this is also out of my comfort zone. And I did it on purpose because I do want to have more conversations like this. I mainly have conversations like this with like my little cousins or my partner's nephew. I explain to him how things are just drastically different. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be aware, because it still exists, and it's probably more blatant than it has ever been today because we're in a progressive situation. And unfortunately, as positive as progression is, it still leaves room for error in those people that are not that progressive to maybe hide behind the fact that being progressive is a thing and blatantly not even mask the things that are going on. Just how like it's progression in equity or equality and the LGBT Black people being considered for more roles and occupation wise. It can also be a progression on the negative side. And these days we're so exposed to things, whether it's our algorithm, whether it's the news, whether those things are not being hidden anymore. Those things are in our face, even from cops killing us to the blatant brutality of the cops, just, politicians saying blatantly racist things on national television. I think it's always been a wild time, but I think just the amount of screens and eyes that are watching and just the access to things, I think times are just much more blatantly wild. I
Yeah.
think an insurrection, January 6th, and just actually witnessing stuff like that in real time is still a fight, basically.
It's still a fight. When one thing changes, it shifts again. So it's something we always got to work toward if we want equity and justice. And that's a part of it. It's not supposed to be a competition. We're not comparing each other. It's something for all of us to do. It doesn't always have to look the same. I appreciate everything you just shared.
Yes, I'm a Black man, most importantly. I identify as a Black man. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, Morgan State University, a HBCU, of course. Served in the military. I am an artist as well. Believe in creativity being like that voice, whatever outlet people choose to have, whatever shape your life takes. Everybody has their purpose in life. And I do have a 9 to 5. I'm in the medical field. It's not my passion at all, but it helps me with my passion. So I'm thankful to have a job as well. And I've been in the medical field for quite some time and I've learned a lot from it. I've had my fair share of experiences. I can say I love my city. To be honest with you, I know we get a lot of flack naturally just for, you know, the way things are there, but it's a lot of beauty in Baltimore. That's the city that raised me. That city has prepared me for the world by way of my parents, of course, but like my experiences in that city, even from my parents, like my parents are first generation Baltimore. A lot of my family is from the South. My father's family is from the Midwest. A lot of them are from Illinois. A lot of them still live in Illinois and Wisconsin. Got a lot of family in Milwaukee that I haven't met yet, but I've talked to a couple people on that side, and I'm blessed with my experiences. Baltimore, it, obviously predominantly a Black city. Thing that we learn, a lot of is in a vacuum. You don't know that you're the minority because you're around people that look like you constantly. We have some like people that lived on our block. They were part of the culture. They were part of our culture. They associated with us. They didn't discriminate against us. And you have that a lot of people of other races, ethnicities that live amongst the majority of Black people. And with us, they're our neighbors. They're looking out for us. You get what I'm saying? It's not any divide in that. It's this Caucasian lady that lived on my parents' block and she cuts everybody grass. She goes for it. Her extension cord is super long. I don't know how she even get an extension cord that long, but she cuts everybody grass. She's been doing that for years, but that's her way of fellowshipping with us. We don't ask her to do it. She does it. And she's older now, so I'm sure she doesn't do it anymore, but that's what I remember. She's always been nice to us. So that experience with social injustice, you may experience microaggressions with your teachers or something like that. Because you have teachers that do teach in urban cities, white teachers and stuff like that. But you may know what it is until you're a little older. My parents were well off. We lived around a plethora of people. My mom's a nurse. My father is an engineer. Granted, a longer path for my father to get where he's at now, because I was alive when he was still going through his course to become what he is now, or what he was because he retired. Both of my parents are retired. And the fact that I do come from a 2-parent household, which is also a rarity where I'm from, we're looked at a certain way, even within confines of my neighborhood. But it wasn't a bad way. They just knew that, oh, Barry's house, they call me BJ, but BJ's house is, BJ got the new game. BJ do this. And I wasn't the only 2-parent household on my block, but out of a lot of my friends I had, that was a rarity, to the point where I remember one of my homies, I called my cousin, have your friends that you refer to as your cousin.
Oh,
He
yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
we all have that experience. He actually thought my father was my stepfather because that was the norm. And I was like, no, bro, like he raised me. That's my father. But that just goes to show you the mindset of when things are the norm for you. And it's not even offense I took to it. I didn't even take offense to it because I understand like being aware of what I'm around helped me understand that everybody's predicament is not like yours. And I say that's why it prepared me for the world, because in that ecosystem or that environment, you're around so many different types of Black people. So the idea of being a monolith was squashed at an early age for me. I know that's a cliche thing to say nowadays, that we aren't a monolith, but it's a fact. We're not. And coming from that, where Baltimore just produces so many different types of Black people, and you'll never know until you grow up and realize, oh, he was into this. And I didn't know that. Cause then you do have Black people that, because like what they're around their environment, they still proceed a certain lifestyle. And that's not just Black people, that's people, period. But my experiences with my people, like you have a big brother that sell drugs, you may think that's the path for you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that. It's just the path that he's chosen. And unfortunately, a lot of us are reeled in like that because, again, things can seem like a vacuum when you're around the majority of you. So even in that, within ourselves is an assumption that we are just alike. We should be doing the exact same thing. And then that's also conditioned from all of us playing basketball together, playing baseball. And we don't realize that you're conditioning yourself to just being a kid, though. It's not even like a serious thing, but I think that's partially conditioning you. Like, we're just alike. We do everything the same. But when one of your homeboys go home, they collect comic books. And the fact that we don't talk about that outside when we're fellowshipping, I like to call it fellowship because it
Yeah, yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
it is what it is. You may not know that aspect of his lifestyle. So as a kid, not having perspectives, it may come off as weird to you, or you may be introduced to comic books too. You had those experiences. To be honest, for instance, Pokemon cards, right? I can honestly say I was never really into Pokemon, but I did them because the people around me could. So you like, but that's what I'm saying. Those are like the minute influences that we can have on each other and not even realize it. It's just conditioning, and we can benefit from conditioning. Also, it could be a detriment. So I think in that, having that path of having to see your way outside of the norm, but also not forgetting that this can be a norm to most of your people or the people that you came up with. We grew up on the same block, but I can honestly say a lot of us had different paths. And that right there shows you not the same, and which is a good thing, everything. And I think it's just good to just be well-rounded in your experiences. And that's why I say it prepared me for the world, because I know great people, the experiences with them, I remember to this day. I'm just able to revert to that environment. And my parents still live on that block to this day. So that place my roots that place, my roots there are cemented, whether I like it or
You
not.
can't take it away.
No,
Can't take it away
and I
from you.
love
Yeah.
it. Even in the music I make, duality is a strong theme to me just in life, because there's so many facets to us. And I approach it like that a lot. I think about my city and my upbringing a lot. It's not a day that passed that I don't think about Baltimore, whether it's good or bad, whether I heard something tragic happened, or whether I'm reminiscing about the ice cream man coming down the block. When you are from, that's the relationship you have. That's why I say it
Yeah,
did prepare me for the world.
I remember hearing that phrase. Sometimes folks might think it's cliche to say that we're not a monolith. We also exist in the context where there are folks outside of us who feel like we're a monolith. Sometimes it comes from
Right.
within, and it's us thinking that we all do the same thing. Sometimes it's other folks that feel like we are a monolith.
That's the biggest
And
with everything. The fact that
yeah,
everything looks the same to other people. And I think that's literally the problem.
I liked how you phrased that because I thought it really encapsulated an important point. We're not all a monolith. So Baltimore prepared you for the world. As you go out into the world, you're thinking about some of your experiences and recognizing injustice. You were mentioning your time in the military.
Man, I want to start off since that I don't necessarily regret my time in the military. I wish I would have went about it differently in a lot of ways. But taking the good with the bad, I met a lot of good people in the military that I still keep in touch with today. And this is not a disclaimer because I don't care. It was some messed up things that I experienced or witnessed. My friends, usually, because we stick to our kind, when we're outnumbered that vast. I don't even think it was 10 Black people in my platoon. This is mainly basic training because I was in the National Guard. So I was still able to have my license. But I never forget basic training. I was stationed in Missouri, and then you're dealing with all types of people. This is the first time some people are even seeing their first Black person. This is some people like first time even seeing snow. Like you got people from Florida, you have people from California, you got people from all over the place. I was the only person from Baltimore, but it was another guy that was from the DC area. And then it was another guy that was from, I think, Mississippi, but his favorite football team was the Ravens. So we would talk about that. And ironically, that's when the Ravens won the Super Bowl that year. I was with basic training against Kaepernick, San Francisco. So I remember this one time with this guy, he was from a racist part of Georgia. I don't recall where it was, but Black guy. And he was very revolutionary. I get that now. I didn't understand what was going on then, but I got to also understand like his experiences are way more, not, I'm not scaling it, but I'm more so thinking about what he goes through every day. Just as much as he is around his people, he still was living where they still had rallies and stuff like that. He still had Klan rallies. I can't even that mindset, me coming from where I'm coming from, but still trying to wrap my mind around like how to literally be living in your house, know what Klan stands for, you opposite of what they stand for, and witnessing that going on and knowing that these cities close the street, like literally that order, like government ordinance to do this and celebrate, you know, literally discrimination against one. I know they're just racist people. They talk about everything, but like to discriminate usually against one specific demographic. And if you're a part of that, even culturally or relate to it some type of way, then they discriminate against you too. But the people they discriminate against look like us. That's just a fact. So the fact that this is locally governed, yeah, I couldn't understand. He basically was trying to create a ranks within the rank, which is the military really big. Like you can't do that. Like it sells as a fraternity already. So when people try to create small groups within the military, it's almost a rebellious thing. It gets taken serious. So Black guy. Now I understand his plight now. I understand.
Are you saying he was trying to create a group within a group?
He was in a different platoon. I don't know what experiences he was having in his area of operations that triggered him to come to like, apparently he came to all of the Black soldiers and was trying to recruit us in some type of manner. And we didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. So push come to shove, the higher ups found out. It felt like a rally too. And we were being like lynched for it. And I'm not even exaggerating because like we got pulled, even if we weren't a part of it, we literally were pulled to the side. And I told my sergeant, I don't know what that even was about, but all the Black people from my platoon was pulled in a room and they conversed with us about what was going on, trying to get information out of us. And from what I recalled, nobody gave any information because what was happening wasn't even that sound to us. We just knew we were approached, we declined, and that was it, right? I want to say 10 minutes later, the way our rooms were set, we lived in bays. And then if anybody that has been in the military, we moved from barracks to bays. So the barracks was more so like bunk beds. And the only reason I'm explaining this because it's prevalent to what happened. Yeah. So barracks have bunk beds. Bays have a row of beds. It could be like 50 beds in a row. And then you have a locker attached to it. And we were pulled into a bay. It was the higher ups there. And then it was just mad white soldiers there. And then all the Black people are literally surrounded by them. right?
How are you feeling at that moment?
I was confused because I had nothing to do with it. A lot of us was taken aback by like what was actually happening. So I'm not even understanding what was going on. I'm not even registering like we're about to be interrogated like in that manner because somebody already came to us and we said what we had to say and then we thought it was the end, right? I don't know what intel they got after that, but they pulled us in that room, in that bay rather, and all the white people are surrounding us. All the higher ups are surrounding us. And we are literally, and there's some drill sergeants that were black too. So I'm looking at them like, ain't nobody gonna stand up for us. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, I think I recall maybe one black drill sergeant. So maybe she felt outnumbered too. And it was a woman. And just knowing how the military works with women, like even women being in the military is not that, it's not that old of a thing. It's been happening for a while, but it's still a new concept in the grand scheme of how long the military's actually been around.
And there's still some resistance to that
Yeah,
as
because
well, right?
I,
Like acknowledging and respecting that. Yeah.
I really have disconnected from the military. I keep in touch with some people that may be still in it, but I'm super disconnected from that just concepts. But I think it was a point in time women couldn't even have combat MOSs, which is basically a MOS or a job or occupation within the realms of the ranks that will put you in harm's way blatant if we were to get deployed. That just happened. If they have changed it, I'm not sure. But back when I was in it, it was like a big conversation of them changing it so women can actually have those type of jobs in the military that wanted to have those type of jobs. But yeah, so maybe she felt outnumbered. And then given the fact those drill sergeants wasn't that much older than us. I was 21. I think the lowest ranked drill sergeant in my platoon was 24, right? And me being 21, I'm a lot older than a lot of people. A lot of these people are 17, 18 that join. That they don't,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So even that, me still being on the older side of the age range. So we're getting scathed, we're getting asked questions by different ranks, right? So this is how scared we were. And I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't like scared about to kill us. It was more so scared, what the heck is about to happen to us for nothing? And in the way we're getting talked to disrespectfully as if we were involved in whatever, because I guess they wanted to make an example, but the way we were getting talked to, like we actually did something wrong, I had an extreme problem with that. Because if anything, I tried to stay out. Well, I'm a very non-confrontational, non-problematic person. Period. Always have been. I've had my fair shares of run-ins with just adversity, like we all do. But I pride myself on being non-confrontational and non-problematic and
Non-violent.
non-violent, or just not a goal. But I'm also understand how to work within the confines of things to maybe get to a point or talk to somebody that can that can maybe consider things differently. And that's what we were getting pulled up for, like we did. A lot of those people just wanted to stay out the way. First and foremost, I got to get back to how we were being like kind of scare tactics.
You were describing getting pulled in for something that y'all wasn't involved in, and the way it sounds like you're surrounded, and then there's also this big racial dynamic to it too, as
Right.
well, as you paint
Right.
the picture.
Exactly. It was like a color wheel in all the black in the middle and everybody. We're in there
Mm.
and so it's different ranks talking to us. So depending on what rank is talking to you, you have to be in a certain position. So it was officers and NCOs talking to us, high ranking. So we're so scared and trying to obey commands while we're being chewed out that we're like going from parade rest to attention, depending on who's talking. We look like we were playing a game of Simon Says. And that was just the added embarrassment outside of being like scared, chewed out for something that you literally had nothing to do with.
Mhm.
Only relation was,
That
and
was the
they're like,
only thing. Yeah.
the only thing that related us because we literally,
Mhm.
everybody, and then me and my guys, we talked about it after we were approached the first time. And we was like, yeah, I didn't really know what's going on. It was just like, nah, I wasn't doing that because I just didn't know what it was. Because what if dude was really on some, let's take this thing over and we already outnumbered anyway. Also, if he felt that way and was triggered by just being in that environment, that's it's understandable because of where he comes from. And they're cussing us out, like berating us. And I really had a problem with everything. I can't recall everything that was said, but it was a wild scene. I almost wish like it was some type of like video captured from that situation so you could see I'm not exaggerating. Just the disposition of us versus them. And we're already outnumbered. So it's like all the black people in all the platoons in the middle, and then all the white people that in the platoon. So it's about 300 people. And then it's probably like amongst 300 people, it's probably like 30 black people. And then one of my homeboys that I was close to, he was my roommate before we changed to the base. He's getting chewed out, and they already judged him because he was a Southern guy, talked a certain way, Southern twang. We meet people from the South, and to us, it sounds beautiful. The fact that he talked a certain way, he appeared a certain way, this drill sergeant already approached him like, you're a thug, ain't you? This man was in school for fire science. He was studying fire science. In school, studying fire science, married with a kid on the way, trying to do the right thing. And this man is in there getting chewed out as if he did something wrong. So it was just that kind of opened my eyes a lot. And post that situation, I just had a chip on my shoulder. I didn't necessarily want to lash out or anything, but I wanted to see if it was some type of way that I can go about getting them reprimanded for that type of, because I didn't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? And then given that
Yeah.
our drill sergeant, and then I don't even think our drill sergeant was there when it happened, which made me feel even more upset because we just talked to y'all about it. So did y'all know
Mhm.
what was going on? Is you like, y'all just go, yeah. That's like you knowing the truth and not saying nothing. That's literally how we get killed. You know what I mean? A lot of black people get killed these days because somebody that knows the truth but is loyal to something or just don't want to be involved leads to
Look the other
somebody's
way.
demise. You know what I'm saying? I did not appreciate that. And that experience obviously still sticks with me. And I told my father about it. Okay, I come from a military background in a sense. Like my family isn't the most patriotic for obvious reasons, but my father was in the military. A couple of my uncles was in the military. One of my aunts were married to somebody in the military. Like a couple of my cousins used to live in Germany because of that. So we got military experiences in our family a lot. But even talking to my father, he'd tell you, he went through his fair share of things too in the military, dealing with things of that nature. And yeah, man, that was scary because it's also a new concept you haven't had to wrap your head around because I never really experienced anything like that. Like I said, being from Baltimore, that opened my eyes a lot, you know.
And being a part of this group where the messaging is we're all in this connected group, but then you having this experience where it's, oh, wait a minute, like,
You're being
and
separated.
underneath that, nah, being separated. You've written about when Freddie Gray was killed and experiences you had around that
Yeah.
while you were serving.
Yeah, so if you are in the National Guard, you get deployed. They still call it a deployment, but to me, deployment has a different connotation. But the fact is, they still refer to it as deployments. You get deployed to natural disasters within your circumference and also situations like that, riots, things of that nature. Freddie Gray, obviously, I'm in my city, right? I remember another one of my homeboys that I'm still close to is that he called me. He was in my unit and he was like, bro, don't put your hands on nobody, none of us. Don't. And I was like, mind is already there. But I also thought about what if, since I have on this uniform, one of my people mistake me for one of them? How do I deal with that situation? Like, how do I mediate a situation that could possibly be hostile just because my appearance resembles the people that are out here against them? Right. I didn't reach a solution to it. It was just a thought. Cause I thank God I did not have to experience that. Cause yeah, I can't speak because it's unfathomable, but thank God I didn't have to experience that. But I just felt like I was on the wrong side of the fight. And we went there. It's a long process to even get the trainer we need. They trained us on the fly. Like the train wasn't even good training, really. And I just prayed that we didn't have to utilize the training anyway. Cause like I said, I'm in my city. I got family in my city. People know who my family is in my city. If I'm reprimanding somebody that may know my family, it may be a problem in the future. I just gotta, people didn't understand because there was a couple of us that lived in Baltimore, but it wasn't many people in my unit that was from Baltimore, right? It was people that lived there. The only significance was they may have went to college there and they just happened to be in the unit there. It was people that moved there, so their roots wasn't necessarily there. But me being like rooted in Baltimore, like even seeing people I know when I'm driving this big truck in the middle of the city with a loaded rifle, just in case anything jumps off. Mine are like, I got real live rounds in these guns that if something happens, I'm going to be expected to discharge those rounds. And it's just, this feels horrible. This feels horrible. Then you get the sly remarks from the white soldiers that are involved that's not from there. Oh, this ghetto city or this, that, and the third, just microaggressions and stuff like that. And then having to be stationed with them, and constantly be around that center city downtown. We stayed there for a week and a day, and it was right before Mother's Day. And all of this happened. Things are breaking out. Things are going wild. And we're just setting up, and we sat up in front of Mondawmin Mall, which is in West Baltimore. I went to this mall growing up, and now I'm outside of this mall, manning it with a rifle with live ammunition. And Mondawmin Mall is literally right outside of a neighborhood. So we got people looking at us like cursing us out. Get that from around here. Go home. We don't need y'all. We don't need y'all. We got this. You know what I'm saying? Or just, I literally understand how threatening it can be to actually see a military in your city. And then me being on the other side of it. First of all, hearing what I'm hearing from the soldiers, the reason we're out there, because the cops and the Black people relationship as a whole, that's been the reason we're out there. Also, it's like a spillover from people being unheard, or like a spillover from people being tired of what they're constantly witnessing. Trayvon Martin, I think, happened 3 years before that. Then Mike Brown happened in 2014. And now Freddie Gray in 2015. And yeah, that pattern is going to affect anybody. It affected me. There's been a couple times where I actually thought about just not reporting to duty. Outside of that, it's just because like that, the idea of a hierarchy is a problem within itself. No matter how you put it and shape it, we're always going to be outnumbered in some capacity, which will always affect our outcome. That's just a fact of it. And it, not even because the people over us are racist or anything, they're just ignorant to a lot of things. They're just ignorant to what we have to go home and do, or they're just ignorant to like our mindset when it comes to leadership. They're just ignorant to, and then even that, you got a lot of people that aren't, so it's a duality in the National Guard. You got a lot of people that aren't happy with their life that they're living, however, 90, 80% of the time. So they come where they have a little rank at and flex their power. So even those influences, things that is just, yo, I'm tired of this, you know? And then unfortunately enough, I was trying to leave, but I was, in their words, so likable and such an asset to the unit that they held me back from leaving. I didn't want to be in that environment anymore. I got tired of it. And even that being that type of influence. So it's just like, nah, bro, this ain't for me. So I was really happy to get out of that situation because it's like that Freddie Gray ride. I think that was like a major, everything I go through is eye opening in some type of capacity, but that was really eye opening. I never want to feel like this again. Like being in the city with legit seeing people I've grown up with a live weapon, but that weapon also being because I'm a part of an entity to police people that have a right to feel how they feel in the first place because of the law enforcement relationships. Yeah, bro. Like I'm on the wrong side of this. I don't like this. I don't.
And so what is that process like? So
Oh
you say you
man.
want to
It,
leave and then you weren't able to. How did that work out?
So I gave myself an ultimatum. I'm very cerebral. I question my own morals a lot when they're being compromised. And in an entity like that, where even when you have established some type of rank, morals are always going to be compromised because it's always somebody over you that you have to answer to. That's just the reality of it. And not to say I have an issue with authority. Authority that I know is just misleading people in the first place, I have an extreme issue with. And then a lot of people that don't have the bravery to speak up for themselves will confide in me, and I will be like that conduit to speak for them and me at the same time. I do speak up for people, which makes me a good representation most of the time because I believe in some people just don't know how to speak up for themselves because they're super fearful of how it may come across or the repercussions because whatever led them to that. But back to the ultimatum. If I'm going to stick this out, if I'm going to stay in the military, I have to progress in some type of manner. It just has to make sense to me because I don't want to be stagnant. So we were going through this situation where they were splitting our unit up for whatever reason. Some things started to change. So a lot of people were going to different units amongst the city. And I was available. The way National Guard works, you get your rank by slots. So in the reserves, which is under the big army, if you are up for a different rank, like far as NCOs go, you just appear in front of a board and it don't matter how many sergeants there is, you'll still get your sergeant rank. But like the way the National Guard worked, the ranks were in slots. So if a unit needed an E5, which is a sergeant rank, you can apply for that slot. But if it gets filled up, then you have to stay at your rank. But then if that rank becomes available at the unit you are already in, you can move up. So that slot system is weak. What it was. So I seen it was an E5 slot available at another unit, and they were looking to fill it maybe within the next 3 or 4 months. So I signed up for it, and I was trying to go to sergeant school. Well, I went to sergeant school to give me that opportunity to get that slot. But right before I left, they were like, yeah, we're going to keep you. Like, I'm excited. I'm like, oh, I'm getting out of here. Oh, new opportunity, maybe a new leash on life and trying to figure out this military thing because I think my personality is what got me through, but like all that like slave drive and idea of this, I just don't care for it. Like, I just never cared for it. And there was a lot of that going on. And it was ran like a high school. My unit was ran like a high school. There's people in there 40, 30, upper 30s, late 20s, mid 20s. Got some wasn't too many teenagers in our unit that I remember, but we're grown. But it was ran like a high school. Just a lot of just high schoolness, for lack of a better term. And I just I wanted to leave, see what else was out there. A good sergeants. They pulled me to the side. Ironically, it was a black sergeant and an Asian sergeant, and they were cool. They were my homies. I like them to this day. I still have respect for them to this day. But they pulled me to the side. I was like, yeah, we're gonna keep you. And it was like, yo, you're valuable to the unit. So I was like, okay. But I was so upset that I didn't communicate it because I don't know how it would have came out. But I'm like, so is it a sergeant spot open at this unit? But given the unit, I did not want to be a sergeant or have that responsibility at this
With
unit.
that unit, yeah.
Yes, the hierarchy as far as units go, it's like a first sergeant and a captain. The captain is technically over the first sergeant, but they're looked at as the same thing. They're like partners in a lot of the decision making. And then you have your platoon sergeants, and then your other sergeants are within those platoons. Since I've been in that 6-year span, we went through 3 or 4 captains, if I'm not mistaken. And then we had a black captain, ironically, which was my favorite captain. But a lot of the white soldiers was conspiring against him. Just hated the fact that he was a black captain and making sound decisions. And he tried to get me to go to OCS, which is officer candidate school to become like a lieutenant, but I wanted to be an NCO. I didn't want to be a officer in the military. People did not like him, and I just did not understand why. He looked out for me. I know why he looked out for me, and he made it a point to tell me, "You're a Black soldier. I got an affinity for Black soldiers because I understand what you go through. I was in your ranks. I went through my fair share of stuff, been discriminated against, and I've been in the military. He's been in the military for a while, obviously, but he had an affinity for Black soldiers, and he looked out for us. And it didn't come off as like favoritism, but we need to be looked out for somebody who understands what we're going through." And he didn't care for the platoon sergeants either. And then they were all conspiring. I used to hear them talking crap about him. And it's just
Mm.
like, to be at that unit, it's just, I don't want to have that authority here.
Right. You wanted a fresh start.
Yeah, because I'm not going to try. I'm just not going to try. First of all, like I said, hierarchy is the problem within itself. You can't really change much. It really depends on your rank. And you can have things you're responsible for and be good at, but I didn't want to be a subject matter specialist in a sense. I was much more of a well-rounded person. And at that unit, it didn't feel like I was learning. Yeah, it just really stagnant. It's just like them being ignorant to where I was, but I could have communicated it better. But once that happened to me, I'm not re-enlisting. I'm getting out. So that was pretty much
So you had those experiences, you got out. It sounded like it hit integrity too.
for
Felt like I was on the
sure.
wrong side of this thing. And so you get out. How do those experiences connect to your current understanding of injustice and social justice? And does it show up in the ways that you relate to people and the ways that you work with folks and
For
just your
sure.
approach to it at all?
For sure. Um, Man, I'm just really cognizant. I think my lifestyle, I work from home. I've had a lot of text conversations with good folks and stuff like that. But man, I'm just super cognizant of the ways that we are forgotten about. And I form of that constantly around. Was actually a minority in the system. And I think that's where you get the true experiences when you're like, it's a difference in plenty of people, Black people that had decent experiences in the military, regardless of what they went to, but it's also like mindset. I'm just cognizant more so than anything. And I spread the idea of being conscious of the discrimination, not necessarily lashing out because of it. But I think when you're able to be in a setting with blatant not even blatant discrimination, but some type of discrimination going on, it's just important to be cognizant of that because you may get a chance to be in a position where you can affect that. These organizations that we're a part of have been around for hundreds of years and they're predominantly white. And to eradicate some things, it has to be like a slow build. You have to slow build. May be in a position to show nepotism. I've benefited from nepotism in a lot of ways when it came to my occupation. But that's also being in a situation where people look out for you and just showing you how to pass the buck down. Because let's say I'm a supervisor, I have persons of interest that I know they can do the job, but they are a close relative of mine or just somebody I've grown up with and have known for a long time. I'm going to consider them first. And I think that's important to do because happening all around us. Like nepotism is happening all around us for people that aren't even qualified. So why not reach out to a person that you're actually qualified with and know that will represent you in the sense that you can trust them being somebody you actually know. And it just provides me I provide the benefit of the doubt. Like I hear people like, even like I said, I'm talking to cousins and my partner's nephew and stuff like that. I don't shun them for having a different mindset because I understand everybody don't have the experience of being in the military and it being pushed into something tenfold and then having to adjust. That was my decision. For whatever reason, it was my decision. So that's also why I didn't give up because I said it was my decision. Did I want to change things? Of course. But I joined the military and I didn't have to. So it's just like that's a moral part of me where I was like, I'm going to stand on this. If I get out when I get out, cool. Everybody's situation boils down to everybody's situation being different. And I just let them know that when things look like this and it continues to look like this, It's probably that. It's probably you being discriminated against. And it's okay to bring it. I think what I do give credit on these children under just a generation, they're much more boisterous than we ever were. We are that generation in between our parents. Most of our parents are boomers, I think. And a lot of them, not a lot of them will get along, go along. As long as you got some money in your pocket, you're good. And they're not trying to eradicate a system. They're more so just trying to get what they can from it and get away from it. Where these kids are like, oh no, I'm a part of this. There's going to be something that can be tangible to my standards that I could coexist with because this ain't happening. I do respect that. I respect that a lot. I've even learned from that. To be honest, I've
Yeah,
even
a
learned from
lot
that.
of bravery. A lot of
Yeah,
bravery from the young people coming up
yeah.
and yep, just not having it. They willing to name it, willing
They're
to walk
willing to
away from
protest
stuff,
about it.
willing to protest about it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Respect.
yeah.
Respect. Got to keep them inspired and encouraged because that's one of the things I think that's going to do it. Who or what are some people or things, resources, even books that have been significant in shaping your understanding social justice and your journey of understanding it a little bit more?
So definitely, I want to say my partner for sure. And you're familiar with her, of course. Just the type of work that y'all do and it being attached to a bigger meaning. Like she's the first person I've met where that's even a thing. Like her work is actually attached to like her beliefs. It's super important. I learned so much through her. It's ridiculous. And coming to find out, like even learning certain theories or just certain principles, I always had those principles, but like you're able to put a name to it,
That's it.
like, yeah, it's
That's
like,
it.
okay, we agree on a lot. Wow. And in the whole gist of this podcast is, oh, I recognize that. That's what that is. Sometimes it is a technical term, but I'm able to define it from like experience rather than technicality. And she has the technical term for it. And even her upbringing, opposite of mine. She's been in a lot of predominantly white situations, going to school, stuff like that, private school. And she's came to the realization like, oh, okay. So I learned a lot through her and she learns a lot from my experiences and what it is to be from two totally different backgrounds, not totally different because we still have Black family, but as far as our experiences outside of our household, even in high school, I went to City High School. It's a college prep school and then named the first, but it was all types of demographics that went there, but we were still a majority. Even in that, I was a majority up until college. You know what I'm saying? So my first experience with being a minority truly is the military. You get what I'm saying? So like surface level minority, of course, majority rather, because there's so many different, like I said, so many different types of Black people. It's beautiful. But yeah, that was my first time actually jumping into a situation where this is what it is. This is what it's like. I have to credit her a lot. I also have to credit my father. He's a big proponent in my morals. I've seen him as a child go to bat for me, smaller experiences, nothing too drastic, but like I've seen him educated me on his experiences and how things move in the workplace. And this is coming from somebody who's very established, but in some type of capacity because of where he's from and who he was to who he is now and who he wanted to be, he was held back in some capacity. My father's a very brilliant person. I don't tell him that because I will never let him, the ego, I don't let him try to flag, but my father he's a brilliant person. And I feel like a lot of people that come into contact with my father feels that way. And he's a very street smart person. I think a lot of his brilliance comes from his experiences in the street because it almost mirrors, he utilized those situations to make it where he is today, even in the work field. I don't know a lot of Black engineers. My god brother, he's a Black engineer, but like a Black engineer is very important to see. That's like a Black doctor to me. Cause you know what I mean? Like we don't have those experiences or those representations a lot. And I had one in my household. They are probably the two most important figures in that experience for me. And honestly, just the experiences themselves. Like I said, everything shapes you as a person. And had I not went through those blatant experiences, I don't know if we would be having this conversation today. Who's to say I would experience it differently, but that was blatant. And I think adversity does need to be blatant sometimes so it can shape you and really show you the misappropriations that are in front of you. And now I will always look out for us. You know what I mean? I always had that mindset, but now like those experiences, oh, that's tenfold now.
That's solidified. I will always look out for us. Now, you just named some folks and experiences. So, if you had the opportunity to say anything to them in terms of gratitude or for their impact in your life, what is it that you want to share with them that you want them to hear?
For my partner, I have to let her know, which I do on a daily basis. It's not even about being proud of her. It's, yo, I'm like grateful to have you as not just a partner, but an example. A lot of us, unfortunately, a lot of our work don't drive us. A lot of our work is to survive. A lot of our work is to strictly provide. And to meet somebody that actually has an emotional attachment is revitalizing. And it helps me in ways that I couldn't even fathom. Just thank her for wanting to change things. I think that's the most important thing. That's so much bravery. And then she has those experiences where she can refer back and be like, I didn't care for how this went. And I'm going to speak up to this because of correlations with those experiences. And it's tangible. Like it's intangible because it's experience, but it's tangible. It's relatable. And she wants to make a difference. And my father, just thank you for going through things, you know, so I wouldn't have to. Like it. I mean, as a parent, you can attest to this. A lot of things you went through, and on like that is so powerful to have somebody that's like foresight wise taking the heat that you won't, so they can teach you those experiences. You can learn from, and they can converse with you. My father communication is top notch. And for being a communicative Black father, I thank him for that. Saved from a lot of things because he's been through a lot of things that he is, by the grace of God, he's still from. And that doesn't go unnoticed. And he case with me a lot. We talk for hours. We talk for an hour and 30 minutes today. Like we've been close and tight. I'm actually learning more and more about him at this age.
What do you hope people, well, actually, no, before I even go into that, just wanted to appreciate your sharing and just how significant it is. Behind that question of, okay, so who are some of the folks that were influential? And then if you had the opportunity to say thanks, what would you say? Like for me, I think there's something really special about letting folks know when they're able to receive the message, the impact.
For sure.
Just taking a moment and pausing and doing that. One of my old professors was actually a part of my social justice origin story, and I really wanted to have her be a part of this. By the time I had reached out, though, stuff had happened with her. Unfortunately, she had passed away. And this idea of it's just so important to let folks know what the impact was and how we're feeling in that moment. It's important for us to communicate that, and also important for other folks to hear it too. So yeah, thanks for engaging in that with me. What do you hope listeners will learn or take away from your story today? Are there any actions you would encourage them to take?
Given that like my stories weren't like any quotes from a book or like a powerful leader. I did want to approach it with the idea of like relatability, not to say our leaders aren't relatable or anything like that. Given how we sparked this conversation off and how the people you spoke to prior to this, how they feel that they're under or beneath because of their experiences and how it played out. As we're going through this in my mind, I'm like, I hope I didn't come off to this, to that. But the fact is, it's relatable. It's in my experience. But like I said, even in those particular situations, I wasn't the only Black person going through that at the time. I've told you, I literally had a good friend of mine call me before the ride and be like, yo, don't, we can't touch our people. We can't reprimand our people. Given that my mind was already there before he talked to me about that, lets me know he was feeling the same way I was in some capacity. Given that I wasn't the only one being chewed out by those higher ups in basic training. The thing is, it's important to understand that your experiences, although they are your experiences, they're not just your experiences. People can literally share in those experiences and relate to those experiences. And I think that's truly where the conversation starts. It's one thing to read books and educate yourself. And it's important to read books and educate yourself, or to look at our history, not but look at our history, but what adds to the understanding of everything that's been through is the experiences. So whatever experiences we've gone through in whatever capacity you want to weigh it, it's still an experience that sparks a question in your head. Was that right? Is that fair? Is this okay? Is anybody else going through this? Why is this happening? How long is this going to happen? That's what I want listeners to understand about this. If they do decide to fellowship with us through listening, I just want the experiences to be understood, that although they're my experiences, I do understand that people, like, whether it's like a direct experience that reminded them of what I went through, or just something that was remotely close, or something that kind of reminds them of something they've went through, but not exactly the same. I just want them to understand, basically, nothing makes your experiences more, we mean more to anybody else, because it's still an experience that we shouldn't be having due to whatever discrimination that is going on. The equity, or the fight for equity, is a never ending one. While I commend you and my partner, I think I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I had a conversation with one of your former colleagues, and they was like, "Yo, we wake up and do this every day, knowing that the probability of things changes is not the highest, but understanding that the one change we do get is a win." And I was just like, dang, I never thought about it like that, which made me respect my partner even more. I think it's just to respect everybody's experience. That's the one. Media, everything seems to fall in line with, "Oh, doing this. We over here doing this. We outside." And it's
Hmm.
just, come on, brother. Like, whether I send $100 to somebody that's in need, that was affected by what redlining, so they're in a poverty stricken area and they can't pay their bills on time, or whether I choose to march for it, or whether I choose to, it all works together. It's a simultaneous thing, and it shouldn't be a weighted thing. It's not a competition. It's never about competition, because we shouldn't be going through this in the first place.
It's not a competition. I appreciate you putting that point on it too. These are things that should not be happening to us in the first place. So if you finish the statement questions here, I'll just say the statement and then you put whatever ending on it you want to. True social justice is possible when
Is cemented, and although opinions may be different, the solution is looked at as the same.
my approach to social justice is shaped by
Conversations with people about my experiences.
our social justice origin stories are important because
Honestly, it's a revelation to you realizing the imperfections of just this country we're living in, the world in a lot of ways, but the country we're living in, and understanding what to fight for.
my hope is that these stories and these messages will exist for a long, long time. Think about if someone from future generations comes across this conversation years from now. Is there anything you'd like to pass on to them? What would you want them to know?
First and foremost, in positively projecting, hopefully the groundwork that we're doing, they won't be able to relate. Hopefully, if this is truly a time capsule and we're looking at 100 years down the road, hopefully they won't be able to relate, but also maybe this can be like almost an encyclopedia in some sense, to like history of just normal conversations happening between people that have their fair share of experiences through just growing up, retrieving the education for it, and just trying to make a difference and just understand things will be vastly different the way I see it as far as just type of people and or like just technology and things of that nature. But at some point, we're going to be looked at as history in whatever format. I think now it's more possible for us to be looked at as history just because we have so many things that are capturing conversations or so many pictures that are being uploaded to the cloud or area. I feel like history is truly being made and is able to be accessed easier than ever. Cause like back in the day, if you ain't have a picture, you don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? But now we got the old camcorders and stuff. So I think I just want them to see, hopefully things are vastly different. The conversations like this is what sparked that difference or what helped with things being vastly different down the line. And don't take it for granted too, because we are just as much as part of your heritage as the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's. I think that's important to know. They were great people, but these minute conversations, or if you want to scale it, these are just as important because it's experiences and nobody experience should be shunned, swept under the rug. And it all takes these type of small stakes or small bricks or small parts of pylons to build a strong foundation to change things down the line. So I would just want them to know like this history is just as important as history that preceded it.
All right. Thank you. Barre Jones. Barre Jones. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your
Appreciate
time.
it.
Thank you for your time. Now, how can folks learn more about you or find you, anything online, any links you might want me to point people in the direction of?
I have an art music page where I share my art with people. It is Instagram at Lingo the Icon. That's my same name on Threads. I'm like getting used to Threads, but I don't have conversations like this often. It's just recorded conversations like this often. So it was pretty good experience, man. I appreciate you for having me. Declining just because of certain things as far as you didn't just discriminate on the fact that our experiences aren't technically the same. You acknowledge the fact that I had, and also this being out of my comfort zone. I appreciate that this environment was created for me to be comfortable and talk about things that may be hard to talk about sometimes, depending on the day. But it's just, and then even you being a colleague of my partner and you making an impression on me in person and just being supportive in person, even before we met, like physically met, you're good. You're a great person, bro.
Thank you.
You're doing something great. And I just hope that the path and goal you're setting out to achieve is very achievable. And I just hope that you reach that. And in talking to conversations, man, it's just good. It's just good for people to have a conduit or a space to express this and also learn. So thank you. Thank you as well. So Lingo the Icon on Instagram is my main way I've contact with people.
Thank you, brother.
No problem, man.
All right. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to Social Justice Origin Stories there or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch video episodes on YouTube at Social Justice Origin Stories, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. Video episodes are also available on the project website, socialjusticeoriginstories.com. Follow the project on Instagram at Social Justice Origin Stories. I'd love to hear about how you're engaging with the stories. Share your thoughts at socialjusticeoriginstories.com/contact or by emailing stories@socialjusticeoriginstories.com. To support the work of Social Justice Origin Stories, consider becoming a monthly patron. Your contributions will help keep this resource going and support its mission. Visit patreon.com/socialjusticeoriginstories to learn more and make a contribution. Again, that's patreon.com/socialjusticeoriginstories. You can start or stop anytime. Social Justice Origin Stories is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Rolando Tompkins Jones. Many thanks to our storyteller this week and the many storytellers who have contributed to this project. And thank you for joining me this week. Take care.